The following program contains coarse language and mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the prairie plains of Canada, direct from Winnipeg, Manitoba, around the globe and across all 24 time zones, at blazing speeds on the internet, it's time for the R-rated podcast talk show that promises straight talk and no bullshit. It's Night Talk with your host, Dr. Talk. No topic too taboo, nothing's too risque. He takes it all on for your entertainment. So settle in, turn it up, and tune in for Night Talk with Dr. Talk.
All right, folks. Hey, we are live. Welcome to episode number 5 of Night Talk with Dr. Talk. That's me. And as you can see, our guest is the much anticipated guest. Has created most of the buzz on Facebook. Harlequin lead guitarist, musician, good guy all around, and old high school buddy of mine. Please say hello to Derrick Gottfried.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad you asked me, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Look forward to engaging in some rap, some conversation,
some verbal intercourse.
Yeah, that sounds good. And that's true, eh? Like, it's probably been 35 years.
35 years, yeah.
Yeah.
We went from jamming in the hallways at Murdoch. We used to steal 4 or 5 guitars from the band room.
Yeah.
Using, if we didn't have a pick, we'd use bread clips for picks.
I always have a pick on me. I always had picks on me.
You did?
Oh yeah. There's something about it. Even I'm walking around all the time. I've got these.
Yeah.
All the time. And you'd be surprised how many times I'm walking around and I meet someone, they kind of know who I am or whatever. And just, there you go.
So, let's go way back. How old were you when you first picked up the guitar?
There was a guitar in my house as far back as I can remember. And like, I can remember this guitar. It was a hollow body acoustic with like F holes on it, you know?
Yep.
You know what that is for those who don't. It's this kind of thing, right? But it wasn't like, this is more of an electric guitar. It was an acoustic guitar with F holes on it. It was like dark with a bit of a sunburst. And I wish I knew where that guitar was, because it really was the item that I would look at and I'd be sort of intrigued with it. And from what I recall, it only had one string on it for, I think it was something my dad had picked up somewhere, and it's like, it was in the house and, it broke a string here, broke a string there. And by the time I really tried to do something with it, it had one string left on it.
Oh man.
And I mean, I'd have probably been like, 10 years old or something like that. And I remember, even doing this. So one string. So I would do this. I'll turn off the distortion. I would do this kind of thing. One string, right? And of course, everyone. And probably my folks would look, and I would say, yeah. And being the encouraging parents they said, let's put you in music lessons. And I was probably about 11 or something like that. So I'll give away my age. I've been playing for over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dare I ask, because I know this of most guitarists, how many guitars have you got in the house?
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I can count like 20 guitars in this room.
Oh, man.
I don't really have many more than that, and even that I think. And when I say guitars, one is like a guitar banjo, like I have what's called a ganjo,
Yeah.
or a ban. What do they call it sometimes? The banjitar or whatever, right? One is a bass. I've got a couple of Les Pauls. I've got a few Stratocasters, a Telecaster, and then some guitars that I just could never part with. This is the first serious electric guitar that I got. And there's some guitars that I wish I still had. I don't know why. Sometimes it's like, I'm not playing this anymore. I'll sell it. There's one Les Paul that I can remember I had when I was really young. And I remember when I sold it, I was 18, and I know who I sold it to.
Oh?
You would probably know him too.
Okay.
I can say his name.
Sure.
Alan LaFontaine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, well, I'm not going to say recently, but maybe 10 years ago, I said, do you remember that white Ibanez Les Paul that I sold you? And he goes, yeah. I said, you wouldn't still have it, would you? No, I sold that when I lived in Hamilton or something, But man, I remember the bridge pickup was broken on it. And it was like one of the rails was cracked. So it was like, basically like it didn't sound very good. And I just thought, I'll just sell it. Meanwhile, like these days, like $100 pickup would be fine. It'd be like a nice, whatever, like a Seymour Duncan, or a Jeff Beck pickup would go in there, and it'd be good as new, better than new, better, and I just couldn't be bothered. I just sold it.
Man.
So that was that one. Here's a good one. I like this. This was one of my favorites here. I got to find where. I'm on a headphone thing, so it's a bit of a leash, but. Fender.
Oh, yeah.
F15.
Yep.
So this is the guitar. Oh, I obviously haven't tuned it in a zillion years. This is the guitar that my dad bought when I said, yeah, I want to learn how to play. He went to the local music store, Miller's Music. He says, Fenders are good guitars. He said, I know they make good electrics. Everyone knows Stratocasters or Telecasters. Like 40 some odd years later. And you know what? It's not bad. It's a good guitar. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, how old did you say?
Well, this would be like, he bought it new, probably like, let's say 42 years ago.
Wow.
Something like that.
Is that the oldest guitar you've got?
Yes. Yes, I would say, well, I have some old pieces in the room here. But this would be like, this is the guitar I've owned the longest for sure. And I guess it would be probably made in the 70s or something like that. So, it would be the oldest guitar that I bought and owned the whole time for sure. Like I have a great uncle who gave me a couple instruments. He lived in Toronto. He's lived till he was over 100, I think.
Wow.
My family's cursed with longevity.
Huh.
But I remember when he was selling his house, he had a room full of instruments. And the message came through my dad, does Derrick want this? And he called it this guitar. And when I used to go over his place, I would play some guitars, and there were a couple that I really liked. Kind of like that old guitar that was in our basement, like hollow bodies with F-holes and stuff. Probably like made in the 30s or something like that, like really nice old guitars. And he sent along this. Here, I'm on this leash here. Hang on. He sent along this.
Oh.
What is this? This is a Portuguese guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know how to string it. I've never played it. I don't even like. I would have to take it to a luthier or something and say, "Can you get this working for me?"
Yeah.
I've never even tried to play it. I have no clue how to play the Portuguese guitar.
Wow.
I am interested in what it is. It's got double strings on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double strings, I think. So that would be like a 12 string, but it wouldn't be tuned like a guitar, I'm sure.
It's reminiscent of a mandolin, I guess.
A little bit, and he did send along a mandolin too. Like, here, I'll show you this one. Here, well, you know what? Before I put this back, I'll tell a little story. I draw stuff. It's got the bowl back, which I think is super cool. Relatively in tune. No, not really. I won't tune this one now. I'm not good at tuning mandolins. It's definitely not my first instrument, but this is a nice piece.
Yeah.
And I am I like that bowl back.
Yeah.
It does give it a deeper sound for a mandolin, right? As opposed to, well, so this is one, and I really like this. It's a really light, thin pick guard on here too. That's really cool. But that's a nice piece. This actually he sent to my dad, and then my folks recently left their house, and my dad said, "Do you want this?" And it's like, "Yes, I want this." These become more nostalgic pieces for me than anything else. And then, like, I know, like, this mandolin, this is the one that my dad used to, well, he's got his at home. He's got a nicer one than this.
Oh, so Dad plays guitar too?
He would say he's got no talent or no musical talent, but really it's almost like he's a music lover. And when he retired, like, he's always been, when he was a kid, he took a violin. And really what a mandolin is a fretted violin with double strings. And you pick it, you don't bow it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can kind of play stuff on it. And he could play, like, when he started playing it a little more regularly, he could get some melodies going, there's some Maggie May or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he retired, he said, "I'm going to learn how to play this thing better," and he did work at it, and he got a lot better at the picking melodies and stuff. But he was smart enough to not take music serious to try to make a living at it or anything. Yeah, I mean, there's always been, like, my family's, people say, "Oh, like, do you have a musical family?" And I know if I said yes, my dad would say, "You don't really have a musical family." But really, it's thing, I think that's step one. Driving in the old Pontiac Parisienne with AC/DC of music that I ever had.
I just got to throw this out there to our listeners. We're experiencing a little bit of a delay on Derrick's end. If you're hearing an echo, I promise you it's just temporary. Please bear with us. If necessary, we will disconnect and reconnect if it gets too bad. So don't worry, we've got it under control. Anyway, back to you.
I think it's probably more distracting for you and I because we hear that echo.
You're hearing it too, are you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Like you say, if I go to, I'll just grab an earbud. I was going to say something cool about this guitar. One of my earliest moments about music. Of course, this is the guitar I learned on, right? It still sounds good. You know? In fact, as wood gets old, it sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, like, the first song that I ever learned or figured out how to play on my own was I Love Rock and Roll.
Oh.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. So
Yeah.
what year would that have been? Like 81?
Yeah.
Something like that. Early 80s. 80, 81, 82 at the latest. So that's the first song I actually figured out on my own. And I mean, this guitar, for being its age, it's still in really good shape. You know? I never, when I left my home, like when I was 21, I moved to Toronto, and I never took this with me. This was, you know, this stayed at home. I mean, I wasn't playing this guitar professionally, right? So it just stayed in my parents' house. I mean, you can see my dad takes care of his instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my Les Paul. This is the one I most recently bought. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can see it's, you know, not as well taken care of, even as this one that's like 42 years old or whatever, you know. But I still remember on my own. I was proud that I was able. And I remember one time my dad picking this up, and he's going, "What the hell are you doing to this guitar?" I said, "What?" And I don't know if you can see this. There's little pock marks.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not doing anything to this guitar. And he's going, "You're doing something to this guitar. You're damaging this guitar." And I mean, you know, I get it. You want to be particular about something that you put money into. And I'm going to have to sell this, and it's going to be damaged 2 years later. But I was learning how to play it. And I was going, right? And every time I went,
Yeah.
the pick was putting a little dent
hitting the
guitar.
wood. Yeah.
Yeah. I was playing the snare drum with the pick on the line. Right. So it's awesome now to pick up this guitar and see these little pock marks there and go, yeah, when I was, you know, 11 years old or 12 years old, I was playing I Love Rock and Roll and smacking the guitar with my pick, you know. Anyways, that's a little interesting tidbit for me to and what a nostalgic piece for me this is to have in my house now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Derrick, the problem is it's just too bad. We're going to have to reconnect.
Okay.
So everybody listening, please just stand by. We are going to disconnect, and we will be back up and running within 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.